You are expanding more rapidly in these physical times than ever before. And these are, because they are the most leading edge times, they are most fast moving times, and they are also the most potentially joyful times. When this energy moves fast and you're up to speed with it, you soar. You feel exhilaration and appreciation. It's fantastic. But in this fast moving energy, which is created by you, by your desire, by your request, if you're not up to speed with it, then it beats up on you pretty good. Sort of like if you're going 100 miles an hour and you hit a tree, a problem. 2 miles an hour, not such a problem. 100 miles an hour, problem. You're going about 1,000 miles an hour in relationship to that analogy. In other words, things are really moving fast. And so you want to be up to speed. And that's why we are eager to talk with you about energy and about how the universe works and how it's managed by the law of attraction. We want to help you to understand how you fit into all of this, your important place. You are so much more than these physical bodies. You are extensions of source energy. And the non-physical part of you, that part of you that exists eternally, still remains in what you would call the non-physical realm, while you have come forth as consciousness into this body. But that non-physical part of you still exists. Sometimes humans call that your soul. We like to call it your inner being, but we want to call it your conscious, aware of you in every moment in time inner being. We want to call it that part of you that is aware of all that you've become, who stands as that fullness of all that you are, who is aware of what you are doing now, even as you are sifting through contrast. That part of you who guides you and leads you and calls you into the furtherness of that which you are about. You are the creator of your own reality. And as you stand in these physical bodies, it is the most important perspective that ever could be. But you've got backup that is indescribable in terms of clarity and confidence and knowledge. So your inner being knows where you stand in your physical bodies in relationship to everything that you desire, where you stand in relationship to it, and is calling you through a projection of ideas and impulses all day, every day. Now, whether you hear those impulses, whether you receive those ideas from your very high-flying, pure positive energy, no resistance inner being, whether you hear that calling or not, has to do with what you've got going on vibrationally. If you're in a bad mood, you can't hear that. If you are angry or frustrated or fearful, you can't hear it. But if you're joyful, if you're happy, if you're playful, if you are in love, or if you are feeling appreciation, then you are in the vibrational vicinity of it, and then those impulses and those ideas just flow seamlessly to you. Thoughts turning to things, you see. And as you receive an idea and you say, oh, I know what I want, or, oh, I've got the best idea. That's you in the receiving mode. That's you continuing the journey of your creation, of launching rockets, your rockets gestating in law of attraction, building them to greater and greater momentum and potential. And then you being in the vibrational place where you receive the idea, because you've tuned your tuner to where your tuner must be tuned in order to be in concert with who you really are. Don't you love knowing that? Don't you love knowing that the way you feel is your indicator of whether you're in the receiving mode of your own inner being or whether you're in the receiving mode of your mother? Oh, that wasn't fair. True, but not fair. It's easy to be a reactor to what's going on around you. And so as you are observing things and reacting to them, very often your vibrational output is mimicking something that you're observing rather than your vibrational output being something that you're deliberately accomplishing. We know that when you look at good things, it's easy to soar, and that when you look at bad things, it's not easy to soar. It's easier to be in a receiving mode of unwanted. But you want to be less conditional all the time. You don't want to be dependent upon things to perform for you or people to perform for you so that you can respond or react in a positive way. You want to be so stable that it doesn't matter what the conditions are doing. You're not a responder or a reactor to the conditions. You are tuned into the frequency of who you are, and therefore you are controlling the conditions of your life experience. And oh, we know you so well. And unless you are controlling the conditions of your experience, you are not the hands in the clay deliberate creator that you came here to be, and you are not liking it one bit. You know that feeling of somebody did something and they shouldn't have done it, and how mad you are at them for doing it? That's not the receiving mode. You know the feeling that you used to be happier because that person used to treat you in a different way, and now you're not that happy because that person is not holding you as their undivided attention? That's not the receiving mode. You know that not having enough money in the bank and worrying about it when you go to the mailbox, that's not the receiving mode for the financial abundance that you're looking for. In other words, you got to find a way to feel beyond what is, or what is cannot change. If you're just observing what is and having reactions to what is, then you're just creating more of the same. Different places, different faces, but the same thing over and over and over again. Know anybody like that? And so what we want you to know is how much you have changed. What we want you to know is how much life has caused you to create a vibrational reality. What we want you to know is who you really are and what you are on the precipice of. What we want you to know is what you have created and what all of us are focused upon, and what is so easy. Now you know you want it, for you to bring it to fruition, but you cannot focus on its absence and bring it to fruition at the same time. And your needing to see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it is what messes you up. If you could accept that it exists, can you? Say yes, but you don't mean it yet. If you can accept that it exists and you can enjoy the feeling of it, let's say that you could use an extra $100 or $200 or $300,000 now. In fact, let's say that not only could you use it, but you really need it. There's just stuff's been going on. Let's say you need it. You need it. And because your life experience has caused you to ask and ask and ask, you have been putting so much abundance into your vortex. And because everything you ask for, ask as step one, is answered immediately, that's step two. Since this vibrational reply has happened and the abundance that you've been asking for is already all queued up for you, it won't take long for it to come into your experience. But your awareness that it isn't here yet will hold it off indefinitely. As long as you look and don't see it, as long as you're looking where it isn't, you're not going to offer a vibration that's going to let it in. So you're not going to be in the receiving mode. So you're not going to be in the right place at the right time. You're not going to connect with the path of least resistance that's going to give it to you. Path of least resistance. Your blessed inner being knows where you stand in relationship with everything you want, and is calling you forward on your path of least resistance toward it. Your path of least resistance. Your path upon which you have thrown piles of resistance. Your path of least resistance. Your path upon which you have thrown all the piles of resistance. Only you have thrown stuff on your path of resistance. You are the resistance throwing pather. You've done it all. Every bit of resistance that exists in your experience, you put there, and that's all right. That's all right. That's what contrast does. In order to know what you do want, you got to know what you don't want. Knowing what you don't want is some resistance on your trail. But you can tune yourself to the knowing of what you do want with so much greater detail than you usually do, because we love you so much. You know what's coming next? You are observers of conditions and reactors to them. And so you offer most of your vibration in response to what you're seeing, instead of in response to what you put into your vortex. You got to tune to the vibrational version for it to turn to the things you want. But if you're tuned to the things that you don't want, the things that are in your vortex cannot turn to what you want as long as you're tuned to their absence. It's just physics, you see. You know that when you tune your tuner on your radio, you don't expect to hear something from a different broadcasting signal than the one you've tuned to. You might not think about it. You just push buttons. Esther does all day long. Buttons, pushes buttons, especially in the car. Don't like that song. Oh, that one's better. Ooh, ooh. She hears about 1/3 of every song. She listens to them as long as they're good, and then when love turns bad, she reaches for another song. So as you understand the tuner of your radio. We want you to understand the tuner of your vibrational frequency. We want you to understand that how you feel is your indication of whether you are in the receiving mode of who you really are and what your vortex has come to be, or whether you are in the receiving mode of overwhelmment, or the receiving mode of anger, or the receiving mode of fear, or the receiving mode of deep depression. In other words, you're in the receiving mode of something all the time. What is it? And you can tell by the way you feel. So your inner being knows what's in your vortex, knows what you're asking for, knows the path of least resistance for all of those thoughts to turn to things, and it's calling you. So when you get an idea and you feel that elation, it's a good idea. Don't talk yourself out of it, and don't beat it up by saying, oh yeah, that's a great idea that never comes about. That changes the frequency quickly, doesn't it? So that 100 or 200 or 300 or 400, $500,000 that you'd like to come immediately probably isn't going to come today. But you could find within just a little bit of time a feeling of prosperity that would put you in the receiving mode of the path to it. And the thing about it, you think that you want it to be a very quick, short path, and we understand that, and it can be. But we want you to know that whether it is a long, lingering, delicious path, or whether it is a very short, quick, delicious path, it is a path that is a sure thing. But your impatience on the path makes it longer. If you are impatient on your path and not enjoying the journey, then you got a frequency going on that isn't letting it become. Oh, it's becoming, you're just not tuned into it. And we wonder sometimes why you don't cash in your vibrational chips on a more ongoing basis. It's like you pull the rubber band back, suffer, plague, desolence, discomfort, back, unhappiness, back. This is a rocket that's going to the moon. I can't let go yet, I'm too mad. Back. And then something distracts you and you forget how mad you are for a minute and you let go of, and off it goes. Ooh, I got the best idea. That will never ever work. It would if you would stop killing it at its birth. So now you know everything we know. You create your own reality, and you have created a magnificent reality, and it's time for you to begin to feel the beauty of it in order to see and hear and smell and taste and touch the details of it. And we know it's more fun for you when the good stuff comes out where you and others can see it and play with it. We get that. We know that there's something nice about creating in a physical setting. But have you ever wondered, how did your economy get so big in just the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years? How did it get so big? Are they trucking it in from other planets? You see any pipelines in the sky? Or are these thoughts that are turning to things? You are a creator in the most dynamic platform of creation that has ever existed. And we are so looking forward to you acknowledging that that is so, and beginning the deliberate managing of your own vibrational frequency so that you can more often be in the receptive mode of the ideas, because that is the sweet spot. Oh, sifting and sorting through contrast isn't so sweet, but it's necessary, and it's something that you do naturally. It's not even something you have to think about. That's step one. It just happens. Step two is not your work at all. That's source energy and law of attraction, gathering up everything that you want, gathering all the cooperative components, getting it ready for you to be ready. Step three is you get into the receptive mode. That's where all your work is, which means, now we know this is tough to take, but you got to find a way to be happy. It's a big price to pay, we know. And do you know you would be? It's like the cork that is bobbing on the surface of the water. That's where that receiving mode is. That's where happiness is. Now you can hold it under the water as you focus on this that's gone wrong, and this that's gone wrong, and this that's gone wrong, and this that's gone wrong. You can waterload that cork pretty good. But when you let go of it, it's going to go back to the surface. That's where happy is. You don't have to work for your happy. You just have to stop doing those things you do that don't let the happy be there. When you wake up, you have a greater chance of happiness until you remember yesterday. And so, if we've convinced you that you can change your mood, you can. If you care enough, you can change your mood. You will be happy if you don't think the thoughts that make you unhappy.